really interesting about that is that it seems like there are two values that you're centering in on, and they're working in tandem, which are really good. One is that you're actually pursuing things that you think are true. You're trying to get to the truth, which means listening to other perspectives, just from a sort of classically liberal position. And then on the other hand, you're also suggesting that this builds social fabric. And so the point that I've made is that the future of the country, in terms of sort of a national polity, because what we're seeing right now is a giant sort, right? We're seeing people like me move to Florida, away from California. You're still in California. We'll talk about that in a second. You're seeing people in New York get more New York, and people in California get more California, and Florida get more Florida. It's getting redder. And so the social fabric at the national level seems to be fraying a lot. And so one of the things that I've said is that the future of the country is going to rely on people who disagree with me, but agree that we should be having the conversation,
right?
Not siding with people who they may agree with in terms of the political end goal, but foreclose the conversation. Because that way, the social fabric phrase, you get to where you want to go, maybe, but you lose half the country in the process.
You might lose half the country in the short term, right? But I think media is incredibly powerful. And look, I think it's also important to differentiate between what you and I are doing and what I see happening on other, let's say, right-wing shows, right? I see a lot of right-wing hosts bring on individuals who purport to be on the left, and then all they do is come on the show and trash the left while simultaneously agree with whatever the right-wing host is saying, right? It's a form of propaganda that I think is persuading some amount of leftists to immediately panic if they see someone on the left go on a right-wing show. So I'm sure that they'll see this conversation, they'll automatically assume, oh, Anna's just there to...
welcome to the Republican Party, Anna.
Right, to reinforce what Ben is saying. But you and I have serious differences. We've debated economic issues. Everyone can go back and watch that debate that we had at the Pennsylvania Chamber of Commerce. But at the same time, I think there is a...
Time for a plug here for the Dr. Nasser Sheikh Show. If you want to, check out our videos, because we did do reaction videos to the debate that Anna had with Ben at the Pennsylvania Chamber of Commerce. So just wanted to drop that in.
A difference between the endlessly, I don't want to say sometimes violent, yes. Like, we just need to bring the temperature down for a second and acknowledge that the majority of the country isn't on the extreme right or the extreme left. The conversation is dominated on social media, especially by the extreme right and the extreme left. We need to bring the temperature down and actually represent what the majority of Americans are concerned about. Majority of Americans want the same thing. They want healthy, happy families. They want financial stability. How do we get there? And we're never going to answer that question if all we do is pretend like the extreme ends of the spectrum are representative of this country and that we should all hate each other and be super divided.
So in a second, I want to talk to you about the incentive structure for avoiding exactly kind of the thing that we're doing right now. First, it's time to talk about Daily Wire's most trusted privacy partner and the premier sponsor. The incentive structures in not having conversations like this. One of the things that I'm seeing, it's what we would call in the industry nut picking. You try to find people on the other side who say the wildest possible things, or you take them out of context so they sound like they're saying the wildest possible things, and then you critique that in order to drive up ire. And I think all of us do this. I mean, we're all in the media, which means you very often are playing a 20, 30-second clip of somebody. It's not a long-form conversation like this one, because they're just different formats, and we all get this. I think the audience also needs to understand that that's a thing that happens. What's more dangerous is when that, I think, carries over into the political sphere, where you have people in each political party who are now attempting to draw and actually incentivize the other party to get more extreme. The idea being, what if we make the other party so extreme that they are unpalatable to the majority of the American people? They elect us, we win, we get to do what we want. Now, that in the short term actually may get them some wins, right? I think this is one of the things that happened in the 2022 election, particularly in the Senate. You saw some Democrats who are actually supporting the most kind of out-of-the-box, crazy Republican candidates like Don Baldock in New Hampshire in the primaries in order to elevate him, thinking, okay, well, that means he's going to lose, which is exactly what happened. It's actually quite smart strategy in the short term, but what it also ends up doing is it ends up fringing out the moderates, meaning like everybody who is not on the fringe is now not represented in the election. And what you've ended up doing is incentivizing the kind of most angry part of one party, and in your own party, making them the most angry that they could possibly be about the other party, as opposed to, what if we all just sort of pick our best candidates and then let them go at it in the ring?
I mean, I wish that was the actual method and strategy, but you would actually have to have a campaign strategy that offers the voters something to vote on instead of something to vote against. And I think that this has actually been an incredibly dangerous strategy for the Democratic Party because they might feel super confident that their candidates can beat someone who's on the extreme right, but there have been instances where that wasn't the case. I mean, certainly in 2016, the Democratic National Committee was really propping up Donald Trump under the assumption that there's no way Hillary Clinton would lose to Donald Trump. Well, here we are. I mean, Donald Trump won, clearly. So there's that part of it. I also think when you consider the campaign donations that ordinary people give to the Democratic Party, they were not under the assumption that their hard-earned money was going to go toward far-right candidates in order to, give these Democratic candidates a leg up in their mind. I mean, again, it's very, very risky to do that. I don't think it's a smart strategy at all. For the Democrats, even in the short term, again, it's risky, okay? Sometimes they get it wrong. And if you don't give people something to vote for, meaning if you don't have policy proposals, actual solutions that are appealing to voters, are they going to show up just to vote against the person you've been fear-mongering about? I don't think it's smart at all. Aside from that, I think what you're saying is also correct in that the conversation increasingly becomes dominated by lunatics. And I don't think that's representative of most Americans. And there's also this problem of lumping in everyone together in like this neat little box of ideology, right? So I think in the minds of a lot of people on the left, you are the exact same person as Tucker Carlson, right? And I think you're different. I think you're different from Matt Walsh. I think you're different from Candace Owens. You guys are all on the same network. I commend you for having differences of opinion on the same network. And I'm sure it can be uncomfortable at times, but there are nuances and differences. And I think it's important for people to be cognizant of that because I don't want to be lumped in with someone on the far left, right? I have significantly different opinions from them on certain matters. And I think it's important to know what those differences are and not let, again, the extreme ends of the spectrum represent the entire country.
So, one of
the thing here is that I don't care what's going to happen. I don't think that's going to change except for maybe a few people that are going to be able to sort of, discern that for just the basic niceties of being in agreement. Like both Ben and Ana are over here. But as I said before, when everybody pulls away from this different type of setting and goes back to their political corners in the political ring, so to speak, it's probably going to be, business as usual. People are going to identify Ben Shapiro as obviously on the right wing. And as Ana just said, with Matt Walsh and with, Candace Owens and with Tucker Carlson and with, Crowder and, with a whole host of others. And of course, we're going to lump, a lot of people on the right are going to lump, Ana Kasparian, okay, with what? Cenk Uygur and I'm just trying to think, Van Jones and Rachel Maddow and, all the other people on the left, in terms of that. So that's just going to happen. Now, yes, you can have nuances. Not everybody on the right agrees with everybody on the right in terms of policy or how to get there. And not everybody on the left, obviously, agrees with everybody on the left and how to get to certain positions on various policies. And then as Ana really pointed out as well, that you've got extremes on both the right and the left. And then there's probably people, okay, that are, a little bit more towards the center. So, but we lump everybody in, obviously, together on this. And that's just going to continue. I really just don't see how that's going to stop, lumping people and say, oh, you know what, you're really far right. And I understand those people, and you're a little bit more center right, and then you're a little bit more, closer to the center, and then you're in the center, you're the, you're the independents, and then we do the same thing on the left and go out. I just don't think that's going to happen. You taking time to watch. This was part 2 of our series of the Daily Wire debates between Ana Kasparian and Ben Shapiro, a reaction video to it, part 2. Thanks for watching. You've been watching the Dr. Nasser Sheikh Show, and I've been your guest host for today. My name is Dr. Nasser. If you haven't done so already, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell, like, share, and follow us. Put your comments down below. We really would like to know what you thought. And I'll leave you with my final thought, which is, when you're right, you're right. And when you're left, you're wrong. We'll see you again next time, folks. Take care and stay safe.